The morning began with a sound that did not belong to the farm. It was not the rooster, not the wind, not even the old tractor. It was a low, broken cry, coming from the pig pen, slow and uneven, like someone trying not to be heard. The sheep was the first to notice. He stood near the fence, chewing quietly, when his ears lifted. He did not move at once. He only listened, the way animals do when something feels wrong but they are not ready to believe it yet. The pig lay on his side in the mud, breathing hard. His eyes were open, but unfocused. The other pigs kept their distance, snorting and shifting, unsure what to do with a pain they could not understand. The sheep walked closer to the fence. He did not bleat. He did not panic. He only stood there, still as a shadow, watching his best friend struggle to breathe. This is where the story really begins. Not with noise, not with drama, but with a quiet decision made by a sheep no one had ever paid attention to. The farm itself was old. The fences leaned. The barn roof sagged. Humans came and went, doing what needed to be done, rarely stopping to look closely. To them, animals were groups, not individuals. But among the animals, things were different. The sheep and the pig had grown up side by side. They were not placed together on purpose. It simply happened. When they were young, the pig had slipped through a broken fence during a storm. He ended up trembling near the sheep pen, mud on his face, eyes wide with fear. The sheep had been just as small then, just as unsure. Instead of running, the sheep had stepped closer. He stood between the pig and the rain, blocking the wind with his small body. No one taught him to do that. He just did. From that night on, they stayed close. They ate near each other when they could. They slept close to the fence, noses almost touching through the gaps. When flies bothered the pig, the sheep would stomp and shake, trying to scare them away. When the sheep was sheared and felt cold and exposed, the pig would press his warm body against the fence and stay there until night. No one on the farm noticed. Or, if they did, they smiled briefly and forgot. Animals were not supposed to have best friends, especially not like this. Back in the present, the sheep pressed his nose against the wooden slats. The pig did not lift his head. His breath rattled, slow and thick. The sheep let out a small sound, then not loud, not demanding, just enough to say, "I am here." The pig's ear twitched. That was enough. The sheep stayed there for hours. The sun rose higher. The humans walked past, carrying feed buckets, talking to each other about weather and work. They glanced into the pig pen, frowned, and moved on. "He's probably just tired," one said. "We'll check later," said another. Later is a word animals do not trust. By midday, the pig tried to stand. His legs shook. He fell back into the mud with a dull sound that made the sheep flinch. This time, the sheep cried out, louder now, urgent. His voice cut through the air in a way it never had before. Other animals lifted their heads. A horse stamped. A goat peered over a fence. The humans turned. One of them stopped walking. "What's wrong with that sheep?" he said. The sheep did not stop calling. He paced along the fence, back and forth, eyes never leaving the pig. He pushed his head against the wood until it creaked. The pig tried to lift his head again, failed, and lay still. The human sighed and stepped closer to the pen. Only then did he really look. "Huh," he said quietly. "That pig doesn't look good." The sheep froze, watching every movement. The human leaned over the fence, checking the pig's breathing, touching his side. His face changed. "We might have a problem," he called out. Another human came, then another. They talked in low voices. They shook their heads. They discussed trucks, timing, money. The sheep understood none of the words, but he understood the tone. Something bad was being decided. A gate creaked open. The humans stepped into the pig pen. The sheep pushed harder against the fence, wool catching on splinters. He bleated sharply now, panic breaking through his calm. The pig squealed weakly as hands touched him. The sheep had never seen the pig afraid of humans before. This fear was different. It was deep, heavy, and quiet. They lifted the pig onto a small board. His legs dangled uselessly. His eyes rolled toward the sheep. For a moment, they just looked at each other. The sheep stopped making noise. He stared back, steady, unblinking, as if trying to say something without words. "Do not go. I am here." The board moved. The pig was carried away. The sheep ran along the fence, matching their steps. His hooves slipped in the dirt. He stumbled, got up, kept going. When they reached the gate, the sheep pushed through a weak spot in the fence that had been broken for years. No one had fixed it because no one thought a sheep would use it. He slipped out, heart racing, and followed. "Hey!" one of the humans shouted. Another laughed. "Look at that sheep." They tried to shoo him back, waving arms, clapping hands. The sheep dodged, quick and determined, eyes locked on the pig. The humans hesitated. "He's really attached," one said. "Animals don't work like that," another replied, but his voice was unsure. They loaded the pig into the back of a small truck. The pig let out a low sound, weak and confused. The sheep jumped onto the ramp. That stopped everyone. He stood there, blocking the way, chest heaving, legs shaking but firm. He would not move. "That's a first," someone muttered. They tried to push him gently. He leaned back. They tried again. He planted his feet harder. There was no aggression in him, no anger, only refusal. Minutes passed. The pig lay still in the truck, breathing shallowly. The sheep stood on the ramp, a quiet wall of wool and will. Finally, one human crouched down. He did not shout. He did not wave. "You don't want him to go alone, do you?" he said softly. The sheep blinked. Maybe he did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. The human sighed and stood up. "Fine," he said. "Let the sheep come." The others stared. "Are you serious?" "Look at him," the man said. "He's not leaving." They opened the gate wider. The sheep walked into the truck without hesitation and lay down beside the pig. He pressed his body close, sharing warmth, breathing slow and steady so the pig could feel it. The pig's breathing eased, just a little. The truck started. As it pulled away from the farm, dust rising behind it, the sheep lifted his head and looked back. The fences grew smaller. The barn faded. The familiar sounds disappeared. He did not know where they were going. He only knew one thing. Where the pig went, he would go too. The ride was long. The road shook the truck. The pig groaned softly with every bump. The sheep shifted to cushion him, adjusting his body again and again, never resting fully. The humans watched in silence. No one spoke for a while. When they finally stopped, the air smelled different. Sharp, clean, unfamiliar. They carried the pig inside a building full of strange sounds. Metal clinked. Machines hummed. The sheep tried to follow. "We can't take the sheep in," someone said. The sheep pushed forward anyway. The pig squealed faintly, searching. The sheep answered with a low bleat, stepping closer. Another pause, another look exchanged. "Just this once," the same man said quietly. Inside, the lights were bright. The floor was cold. The sheep's hooves slipped, but he stayed close. The pig was placed on a table. Hands moved fast. Voices spoke softly but urgently. The sheep stood at the edge, trembling, watching everything. When they tried to move him away, he cried out louder than before. The pig reacted instantly, breathing faster, eyes wide. They stopped. The sheep stayed. Hours passed. No one noticed how tired the sheep was, how his legs shook, how his eyes never closed. All he did was watch and wait. When the pig finally stirred just a little, the sheep lowered his head and rested it near him. His breathing slowed. Outside, the sun began to set. No one on the farm knew where the sheep had gone. No one had planned for this. But something had already changed, because a sheep had refused to leave, and humans had listened. The story does not end here. This was only the first choice. And sometimes the smallest choice becomes the strongest bond. For now, the sheep stayed still, close, present, and that was enough. Night settled slowly around the building, the kind of night that feels heavier indoors than outside. The lights hummed above, steady and cold, never dimming. Time moved differently here. The sheep did not sleep. He stood close to the pig, so close that his wool brushed the pig's side every time the pig breathed. Each rise and fall mattered. Each pause felt too long. The humans moved around them, quieter now. Their voices were softer, slower, as if they had entered a place where sound itself needed permission. One human checked the pig again, listening, watching. "He's stable," she said. "Not better yet, but stable." The sheep did not know the word, but he felt the small change. The pig's breathing was not as sharp, not as frightened. The sheep lowered himself to the floor beside the table. His legs folded carefully, one at a time, like he was afraid to make the wrong movement and break something fragile. Hours earlier, he had run without thinking. Now every movement was slow, careful, chosen. Outside, rain began to fall. It tapped gently against the roof, a soft, steady sound. The pig's ear twitched at it, just like it used to back on the farm. The sheep noticed. He lifted his head. The pig's eyes were open now. Cloudy, tired, but open. They found each other immediately. No surprise, no fear, just recognition. The pig let out a quiet sound, low and uneven. The sheep answered with a breath, warm and slow, pressing closer. The humans paused to watch. One of them whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Another shook his head. He won't calm down without the sheep. They let the sheep stay. That night, the pig slept for the first time since morning. Not deeply, not peacefully, but enough. The sheep did not sleep at all. When morning came, light slipped through the high windows, pale and gentle. The sheep's legs ached. His eyes burned. But he did not move. The humans returned with food and water. They offered some to the sheep. He did not eat. His eyes stayed on the pig. Only when the pig stirred again, stronger this time, did the sheep lower his head and take a few careful bites. It felt wrong to be full when his friend was still weak. Days passed like this. The pig slowly improved. First, he could lift his head without shaking. Then he could shift his weight. Then, one afternoon, he stood. It lasted only a few seconds. His legs trembled, and he nearly fell. The sheep moved instantly. He pressed his side against the pig, steady and firm, becoming something solid to lean on. Together, they stood. The humans froze. Did you see that? Someone said they had. From that moment on, everything changed. The sheep was no longer just allowed. He was expected. When the pig needed to walk, the sheep walked beside him. When the pig refused to eat, the sheep ate first, slow and calm, showing him it was safe. When the pig panicked at unfamiliar sounds, the sheep stood still, breathing steady, grounding him. The bond was no longer quiet. It was visible. The story spread. Workers from other buildings came to see. He stood quietly, watching a sheep guide a pig down a hallway, watching a pig calm instantly when wool brushed against his side. Maybe we don't understand animals as well as we think, one human said. The sheep did not care about understanding. He cared about presence. One evening, a human knelt beside him and gently ran a hand through his wool. "You're a good friend," she said softly. The sheep did not move away. He stayed. When the pig was strong enough to return to the farm, the truck came again. This time, no one questioned it. The sheep walked up the ramp first. The pig followed, step by careful step. The ride home felt different. The sheep lay down, tired now in a way that felt safe. The pig rested his head against the sheep's side. When the farm came into view, the animals noticed. First, they lifted their heads. They gathered near the fences. The truck stopped. The gate opened. The sheep jumped down and turned immediately, waiting. The pig followed. He stepped onto familiar dirt, breathing deep, steady. The sheep walked beside him all the way back to the pen. Nothing was the same anymore. The humans watched more closely now. They fixed the broken fence between the sheep and pig pens, but they added a gate this time, one that stayed open. They stopped laughing when animals stayed close. They stopped separating without reason. Sometimes they simply stood and watched. The sheep and the pig returned to their quiet routines, eating, sleeping, standing together in the sun. But everyone knew, when storms came, they stood side by side. When strangers arrived, they stayed close. When the pig grew tired, the sheep slowed. The sheep never left, and the pig never forgot. Some bonds do not need words. They only need someone who refuses to walk away. The sheep lay down beside his friend as the sun dipped low, warmth spreading across the ground. He closed his eyes at last. For now, everything was where it should be.